Listen Line. Now, your host, Scott Walker.
Right now, that time, 8:18. Well, this morning with us in studio, we have Brandon Bass from the law firm of John Day, local attorney. How are you this morning?
I'm great, Scott. How are you?
I'm good. So every day, man, I don't know how many accidents there are per day in Tennessee. I bet there's a lot. Is there any official count?
Thousands. Yeah. I mean, the good news is a whole lot of them are fender benders. It might be a frustration. Bad news is some of them are a whole lot worse than that.
Yeah, and then you have all those other accidents where people slip and fall, people, I don't know, whatever happens. There's a lot of them out there. What's the strangest accident you've come across?
Strangest accident I've come across. I got to be careful in answering that one, Scott, because when we have private conversations with folks that don't result in lawsuits, then they're all confidential. People can call in anytime and ask about stuff to make sure that they're not, they're allowed to ask the question without worrying about it being aired. So I got to think about ones that are public record. I will tell you two things. One is, as a parent, seeing all the cases I do, car seats are so important. There's so many, seem like a minor fender bender, and it turns out there's a kid that's hurt really bad. And the one area I see so often that I would have never expected things to get as bad as they do are, you mentioned slip and falls.
Yeah.
I'm not that tall. I'm not even 6 foot tall. And most people,
on radio, you're 8'1".
I appreciate you giving me the extra credit, but it's not that far from me to the ground. And then I see people come in and their knees messed up for the rest of their life or something like that.
Man.
So those ones always mess me up a little bit because I think, shoot, I walk a lot. I mean, I walked into this room.
I saw you.
Yeah, I'm capable of it. I feel like I've been practicing for a long time now. And I do see people that like just take a spill of water or soap or something on the floor.
Yeah.
And take a spill and end up, they're spending the rest of their life. All those times people wake up in the morning and it hurts or they can feel the weather coming. Man, the fact that could happen at any moment, at least when you're in the car, you got at least a general idea that, yes, one of these other people on the road could hit me. But I don't usually count on walking into a store and thinking, well, this could be the last time I walk just okay.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when you go to whatever store it is, local grocery store, there's like this hidden expectation that everything's going to be all right. I mean, you're just going there to pick up milk and eggs or whatever it is you're getting.
Yeah, and it is bizarre to me how many cases I see. I feel so bad for the folks. We're able to help them, but shoot, we can help them pick up the pieces. But that for what amounted to, they were stopping to pick up their kid at school or what have you, and it turned into a life-changing event for falling. Like, again, my leg's only about 2 feet off the ground to my knee. It just doesn't feel like that big, but it doesn't take much to do some damage depending on where you hit.
And then you have those folks who have underlying conditions, osteoporosis or a bad back already from a previous injury. And I'm curious, those who were already injured, already had surgery of some type or whatever the underlying thing is, do they often think to themselves, well, I already had this condition and this condition, so I doubt I'll probably not be able to recoup anything if I file anything in court.
Yeah, a lot of folks do think that way. And the people that really think that way are insurance companies. They come in and say, well, this person, they went to see a doctor about their back 25 years ago. That must mean the back was always bad. Let me say this. If you made it 25 years after you've been seeing a doctor, by 40, you probably got a little bit of a bad back, and it just adds up. But there's a difference between kind of back that you might throw out when you're getting down Christmas trees from the attic and stuff, and getting hit by a car and needing surgery. So, boy, we deal with that all the time, looking at what a change there is for the person from their baseline to post-crash.
And then I guess the same is true for somebody, maybe they were taking medication of some type whenever the accident occurred. Well, I wonder, out of that category, how many people just automatically assume, well, they're going to say, I was taking this medication and that's to blame for it. But in reality, well, they've been taking that medication for probably years and it probably didn't cause it.
I honestly don't see that one quite as much. I don't hear that degree of pushback. But I think that is largely for the reasons you just said. It is, if the person's been on it for a long time and the doctor says it's okay to drive and such, then they're probably not loopy. They haven't been, hitting every telephone pole between their house and their workplace every single day. So that part doesn't come up as much, but we do see a whole lot of cases where folks did take more than they should. We see a whole lot of intoxicated drivers, and the good news there is the police seem to do a pretty good job in a lot of cases of getting toxicology, getting blood work in, and figuring out how much an overuse of medication, alcohol, or anything else contributed to a crash.
Overall, I guess the thing to remember, in case anybody out there listening does get hurt, the thing to remember is it really doesn't matter what those underlying conditions you already had were, because the fact of the matter is, if there is something that caused your injury and you didn't do it, then there's a reason to probably talk to an attorney.
Oh, yeah. All the more so if you've ever seen a doctor for anything dealing with that body part before. I can tell you this. The insurance company, they may act nice at front and stuff, but what they'll say on the back end is, well, it looks like when you told your own doctor 3 years earlier that, hey, my knee's acting up a little bit, right? And therefore, we're going to wipe out everything related to the knee injury that you're saying you had in this car crash, what have you. You're going to bounce into that problem down the road. So putting the pieces together to prove, shoot, yes, I mentioned to a doctor 3 years ago. Now, let me say that most of the time when people get asked that question, you got a medical record out there that says you mentioned to your primary care doctor 3 years ago at a checkup that your knee was a little sore that day. Yeah. Most of us don't remember that ever happened. But you're going to get attacked for it. Ultimately, they're going to challenge and say, you must have had something going on. We don't have any x-rays or MRIs or something like that from before this car crash that you got an insurance claim for. So how do we know that you were actually hurt and it's not just what you reported to your doctor or to a walk-in clinic 3-5 years earlier? One good answer to that is, well, after this crash, they said I needed x-rays and MRIs and stuff. Nobody wanted x-rays or MRIs before because apparently just some doctor wrote down I had a little bit of knee pain one day.
Yeah.
The fact that there are no radiology and nobody saw the need for any of that kind of stuff is a pretty good indicator that something changed. But boy, we fight about that all the time, and I feel bad for the folks who have to worry about or struggle. They see a lot of folks who try to take care of cases on their own or insurance claims after a car accident, and it may be months going by before an insurance adjuster says, well, we've now got a hold of these medical records going back years, and I've found out something that makes me say I don't want to pay you what I think your case is really worth.
Yeah. So if anybody out there listening has any questions for you this morning, they can text those in at 615-893-1450. When that insurance company calls you, assuming they reach out to you, maybe you don't reach out to them, but they actually call you and say, we're just following up because we see that you had an accident in our store or our client's store, or maybe an accident involving our client driver. What's the first thing you should say?
I gotta go. Click.
Can't talk right now.
Click.
But what if they're super nice? Super sweet. Hey, bud, how are you?
Absolutely. So here's the dirty little open secret that people don't find out until it's too late.
All right.
The insurance company is absolutely a company whose job is to not pay people money. They're getting paid premiums by some company or some person out there, and their business model is keep that money and don't pay it out to folks, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that, frankly, they're not all trying to be jerks. You get a claims representative on the phone calling up and saying, hey, it sounds like you might have been hurt. Won't you tell me about it? Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. We always see that from the Miranda warning, but it's true with insurance. The law is any statement you give to an insurance company they can use against you, and you can't use it to prove your case. This is a general rule. It can only be used to hurt you. It can't be used to help you. So you see, insurance claims representatives do a couple of things. They say our policy is we got to have a statement. We think we'll be able to take care of you. We got to have a statement.
Is that legally true? I mean, do they have to have a statement from you right then, or that week, or that month?
No, they don't have to have a statement, period. That maybe, listen, I can write all kinds of policies. Your grocery store could write a policy that says, our policy is you may buy 6 bananas, but you only get to take one of them home. They can write their own policy to say whatever they want, their own protocols. That's not any legal rule. But they try to get these statements. Most of the time, it's a recorded statement. They say, let me just, you mind if I press record? And they talk to the person for 5 to 10 minutes, maybe going on longer than that. Say the insurance claims rep says, this is part of our policy. This is so we can review the case, need to understand how you're doing, how this happened to you, and what's going on. And just get the person talking and hope they say something the insurance company can use to deny the claim later.
Yeah.
Or more aptly say, well, we're not denying it, but we're only going to pay you pennies in the dollar. We're going to nickel and dime you because it just you said something in that recorded statement that we want to use against you. So my answer is do not talk to the insurance company. Nothing good can come from it in most cases. And any good lawyer can tell you if it's that rare case where you could truly handle it on your own without getting sandwiched. You know, there used to be a tactic. I don't see it as often because we live in an email and digital world where people are working from their phones and desks and more. But when people used to meet in person for everything, the tactic would be not just a recorded statement, but the insurance company get a written statement out of everybody. They try to get a written statement. And the tactic the claims reps would use is they deliberately get something wrong. So they sit there, the adjusters sit there with somebody and ask them a bunch of questions, say, well, you mind if I write it up, and will you sign it for me at the end? Make any corrections.
So literally the insurance claims person is writing what that person is saying, but yet putting their own little spin on it.
Putting a little spin on it. And that when they're going through, if you say, well, my home address is 123 Springmore Lane, they'll write 125 Springmore Lane.
Why?
Because then they'll go back and say, would you make any changes on here that you think I got wrong and initial? So they can come in later and say, well, you initialed that. You changed your phone number or something that's obvious, but you didn't touch anything about the way I spun how you were hurt, what your injuries are, how minimal your injuries are. So you didn't make any changes there. The entire tactic there is 100% to set up the least possible payment down the road, right? And so it feels nice and easy. They're taking care of everything for the person, but what they're really doing is building a case file that they can look at later and say, well, if this person now dares to take us to court, now we've got all the evidence we need to pay them pennies for what they could have gotten. It's I feel bad when I see folks who've really been railroaded into that or sweet talked into it.
Yeah.
When at the end of the day, no, absolutely, you have no obligation to give them any statement like that, no matter how much you hear from the insurance people or your family hears from the insurance people. The insurance folks say, well, they can't process your claim unless you give them all the stuff they need in their file.
Yeah.
That is not true. They just want that in their file.
So these tactics that you're talking about, do some insurance companies send their representatives to maybe certain classes to learn how to flip stuff around? I mean, this just sounds crazy because I didn't even, and to think that some would write down the wrong phone number, then have you sign that as part of the form and point that out in court later. That's crazy. Classes
and on-the-job learning. You know, you learn from your mentor, and people pass along and say, this is what works really great. But the recorded statement thing, it's got to be 99% of cases that they're asking for that thing. Let me say this. If they're not asking for a statement from the victim, assume there's even something bigger up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that is going to be the extreme exception, and it is not going to be that. At the end of the day, that means the insurance company really wants to pay the fair and full price. What it means is, again, of course, the insurance company would usually like to pay something, but they can pay a postage stamp in exchange for you dropping any claim you could ever have, or just dragging things out until all the deadlines have expired.
Are insurance companies or their representatives, are they allowed to pay you a visit in the hospital if that's where you are recuperating from that accident?
They are allowed to. So there are some hospitals that won't let that happen, which is probably for good reason, especially depending on where the person's recuperating. There's some hospitals, and part of that I think back to COVID, and so many hospitals were not allowing a lot of visitors in. But they are allowed to. It is very, very common for when somebody gets seriously hurt and the insurance company knows it, or they know it could be going from bad to worse.
Yeah.
Right? Let me give you a common example. After a car accident, a lot of times people will have neck and shoulder and upper back pain, but it's not really clear to them or to their doctor where it's coming from. We got a whole lot of little body parts up between the base of our skull and the middle of our back, right? And one that comes up down the road for folks, especially if they were the driver's seat, is a tear in the shoulder, the muscle tissue, like there's a rotator cuff in there, you see. And those things get torn when they get jostled real hard. But you don't often know it right away. So what we see insurance companies do is come out and say, we'll give you a few $1,000s here. Just sign on the dotted line.
Yeah.
The signing on the dotted line is absolutely saying if things go from bad to worse, the insurance company's not responsible for it. If it turns out that you've got a surgery that's needed down the road, and you took a few $1,000s from the insurance company that's not enough for the down payment to schedule a surgery, you're out of luck. You're going to have to figure out some other way to get that money, because what the insurance company is doing is putting forth a nickel and dime contract that, with the benefit of hundreds of millions or billions of dollars of investigation and research, they know is cheaper than what they might pay down the road. So they'd rather, if they give $100 to everybody who's in an accident to never call them and say it's worse than $100, they'd be doing okay.
So I would guess there's probably tons of cases out there where somebody gets injured in some way and they talk to the insurance company, and the insurance company, like you're talking about, they realize this is probably going to be a big injury where there may be a few surgeries in the future. They probably already know, hey, if I offer this person $20,000, $30,000, and I say, we'll have you a check by the end of the month. And they probably do research on knowing, all right, well, this patient, this person who got injured, they work a $30,000 a year job. They live here. We know their address. We know what car they drive, and all of this. They probably look at all that stuff, and then they probably do just that. Go and offer $20,000, $30,000 at most. And then the person says, yeah, I'll take that.
Well, because in that case, they know that they might owe actually 5, 10, 20 times that later. They know you're talking about, you mentioned surgery for this person. Insurance company knows exactly what that surgery is going to cost down the road. You know, they got scores and scores. They got databases. So if we can get the person to sign on the dotted line now, before they get that surgery scheduled, the insurance company doesn't have to pay for it. So this is all your medical bills are. We'll pay you this. We'll pay for the medical bills so far, just your ER bill, and we'll give you a little bit of cash in your pocket too. That is not a kind and neighborly thing. That is absolutely them getting a steal of a business deal.
Yeah. It sounds nice on the surface there when you first hear it, but if you really think about it, it's a scary proposition.
It is quick money from an insurance company should be very scary. There are times when it makes sense, but it takes a whole lot of investigation even to make sure it makes sense. Why do I say that times that it makes sense? Well, there's times when, look, they know that they owe more than they can afford to pay, that all the insurance policies they can put together for this victim won't be enough.
Yeah.
Right? And if you've got all the pieces in place and they offer it up, it still might not be the right number. Number one is some folks have more than one insurance policy, right? And so they'll come in and say, well, all the insurance money in this case is $100,000. Why don't you take it? There's no more money to be had. The policy says it's $100,000. What they're not telling the person is there's other kind of policies out there called umbrella policies. There's all kinds of additional policies, meaning the insurance company can say, here, you can see on this piece of paper, we've only got $50,000 in insurance, and more your medical bills may be more than that. Why don't you just take that and go home?
Yeah.
Don't ask whether there's another policy. Don't get it in writing in a way that you can actually use if they've lied. Just please take the money and go home. So we do investigation to make sure this is really all there is. Plus, insurance isn't always the only thing. You know, if Elon Musk only carries $25,000 in insurance,
Yeah.
he could cut a check out. He probably could pull money out of his pocket to pay for any medical bill you could get.
That's what I hear.